that I try to hold on to, really. Because we all, life, what are we so afraid of? We're all going to die. We should just, if you want to do something, just do it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Everyone's so concerned about their own lives and their own stuff that it's like, if you do something and screw up, whoever is that's looking at your art or reading your book or whatever it is, they're going to think about it for 2 seconds and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, this is kind of on a personal level, I guess. I haven't, so I grew up, my father was not as old as yours, but older than other kids' fathers. So I was born, my father was, I think, 43, maybe 44. So he's in his late 70s now.
Mm-hmm.
And so older than other kids. And I always felt like I also had maybe a similar kind of thought process as a kid. I always had this like fear of him dying or thinking about him, dying sooner than other kids' parents and thinking about like, among other things, that's one of the motivators that kind of kept me, wanting to achieve because I wanted to make him proud. I wanted him to be proud of me.
That's
And it
very
was
familiar.
like, yeah, it's like, so you have a kind of more, I'll say extreme. That's not really what I mean. Contrasting experience than I did because your father was much older even than mine. But I think maybe we had kind of a similar psyche driven into us at a young age.
Yeah, that achievement thing for
Right.
sure.
Where it's like, I don't have a lot of like you want your parents to be proud of you, but you're like, you just know like that clock's almost just ticking all the time on the wall, and you're like, I don't have much time. I even think about it now where it's like, okay, if I don't have kids, but it's like, if I want to have kids, like, better hurry because like he's not going to be around that much longer, and just it's like this constant ticking that it seems like my peers, and maybe you felt this way too, is like they just didn't have this pressure, and it's internal pressure, but they just didn't have it because they're in high school and their parent is now late 30s, early 40s or something, and it's not even a concern at all. So it's just kind of interesting to hear from you about that, I
100%.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, it really affected so many aspects of my life. I really wanted to do a semester abroad. I went to NYU and my family's in Connecticut, so I could see them a lot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a semester abroad and like travel and see more of the world when I was young. And I didn't do any of that because I was afraid if I was away for 6 months, what if something happened to my dad? And he was super healthy. Like my dad ran until he was winning 5Ks in his 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, not winning outright, but in his age group.
Yeah.
So he was like super healthy, but then he got Parkinson's when I was in college. And then I was just like, all right, I'm not going anywhere. The ticking clock thing. Yeah. I felt trapped really by that perception of time and his age and the math. I remember doing math when I was a kid and being like, okay, when I'm 30, my dad will be 90 something. And then wondering what that would be like. And watching his body betray him was so painful as a young person. And that made it worse because that's a very like definite thing you can cite of like, my dad's old.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is just a story I kept to myself because it was just a personal experience. I'm not sure if I've actually shared it with anybody before.
Here we go.
So my dad refuses to text, so he has to call, which is
that's good.
not unlike many old people. Although my grandmother will text, and she's of a similar age. So
my grandma texts too, and she's 79. So yeah.
Anyway, so I had this voicemail from my dad, and I was a teenager, I think, high school, some age, and it's just this garbled sounds with sounds like crying.
Oh no.
It's like a minute and a half long, and that combined with that like inborn like fear of my father dying made this what my brain made sense of it at the time was like it sounded like he was in like trapped in a vehicle filled with water crying and he was going to drown or something. Like that's how my brain
Oh
processed it.
God.
And it just like
Yeah.
freaked me out to no end.
Yeah, it's
No,
like
it's
a
just
last voicemail of
right.
him.
Right. And that's
God.
exactly what that's the first place automatic place my brain went and it
Yeah, my brain would
just
do that too.
yeah, it just scared the shit out of me and it really is just a butt dial. It was just in his pocket. It's the most benign thing. But like just to like that's how pervasive that thought is that
Yeah.
that's the first thing your brain goes to, not he just butt dialed me.
Silly dad, yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Oh
that at all.
God. Yeah, that's so scary. It's true. Yeah, we having an older parent definitely does that to you. You're looking for things. You're like, when's it going to happen?
Yeah,
It's awful.
I
But
you
I
know
think there are many good things about having an older dad
right.
too.
That's what I was
Like
gonna
there are a lot
say.
of older, like my dad fought in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard amazing stories. I wish I filmed them. I hate having regrets. I try to live not having any. And that's my huge regret with my dad. Because I kept thinking that denial, we're always in denial of like, well, when's it going to happen? But it will never happen. But when's it going to happen? It's never
Right.
going to happen. And I always said to myself, I'll film him saying these things one day. And I never did.
Mm-hmm.
But I know them and I can share them. And he wrote some of them down. So, but yeah, there are a lot of positives
Mm-hmm.
like that access to history. My dad was born in 1924, so he experienced the Great Depression and the
Mm-hmm.
World War II and saw so many presidents. And, you know, it's just crazy that it made it feel not long ago. And that's the interesting thing about history. We haven't really been around that long.
Right.
So, yeah, he made a time that didn't seem accessible for other kids really accessible to me.
Mm-hmm. Did he we're obviously going down a rabbit hole here, but
No, I mean, yeah, follow it.
um do you feel like thinking of positive things of having an older parent, I always felt like so my father grew up as an only child on a farm, and his parents went through the Great Depression. So they were very frugal, like didn't have a whole lot, but made do and stretched a dollar bill as far as it would
Oh
go.
yeah.
Um, but because he came from a different generation, I felt like what at the time maybe seemed like a negative as you get older, you kind of reflect on it differently in that I felt like because he had a different experience growing up from a different generation with different values and a different outlook on life, that I was able to overcome some of the things that my peers were not because they were coddled more.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if like your father had maybe a stricter way of raising you because he was an
Yeah.
older generation than like parents now might.
Yeah, I was not coddled. I have a really funny story that I think you'll appreciate because it's related to running. Um, so my dad was a runner, and I think I initially started running pretty much just to please him. I was good at it, but I didn't like it enough to be great at it. And we went running just in our neighborhood, and I think I was in like junior high or something. And my dad was super fast, even in his 70s. It was crazy. I couldn't keep up with him, and I was so embarrassed about it that I just faked an injury and was like, oh, I'm just going to turn around and walk home. I was like half a mile away. I was like, I can't. But I was so ashamed that I just pretended I hurt my ankle and turned around. And I think most and I don't want to speak for most dads because I'm not a dad and I don't know normal dads,
Right.
but most dads might now in that coddling kind of way ask like what happened or what's wrong or say, oh, I'll walk back with you to make sure you get home. And I was I was like 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
Walk back with me and then continue the run. And he was just like, okay, bye. And he kept running. Even though I had no injury, he didn't even care. He's like, okay, well, I got to do my run. Like,
mm-hmm.
I'm doing my thing. So it was really like, what I learned from him was he really took care of himself.
Mhm.
Like, despite everything that happened, he balanced family with alone time really well, and would like go paint paintings in the basement and practice piano, and yeah, I think I just learned a lot about what to appreciate out of life too. And also, yeah, I definitely wasn't coddled. So I think that he gave me a huge work ethic because
Hmm.
it's like, okay, yeah, you're hurt, whatever, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And resilience. I think I learned a lot about resilience from him.
Yeah, it's like that walk it off mentality. Like, okay,
Yeah,
well, you're fine, but you'll figure it out. Like, you're
yeah, you figured
capable.
out. Yeah, you're still standing.
Yeah, no problems here. This I kind of wonder, and this is speaking culturally, but just I wonder if we've kind of got helicopter parents now. They're like over coddling, and then you've got kids that I'll say kids, but I don't mean that. Young adults that go to college and have no idea how to do their own laundry or like the most basic of things.
Yep.
I wonder how long, or if it will, but I assume it will. I wonder how long it'll take for the pendulum to kind of start swinging back the other direction and for people to go like, okay, wait, this didn't produce the kind of children we wanted either. So now we're going to have to go back the other way and be like, you're on your own. You're 8 years old. Go to the store and buy all the groceries for the week. Like,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, if I ever have kids, that I mean, I would definitely raise them the way I would change some things, obviously, because we learn from our parents like what we felt worked and didn't work. But
mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd send them to the grocery store. But yeah, I wouldn't. I would make them solve their own problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd definitely give advice, but I wouldn't step in and interfere on stuff. And I think that my parents didn't do that for me, and I saw a lot of other kids' parents just kind of like aggressively do stuff, and I'm like, oh, my mom. And I think that's why, like, despite my parents' age difference, it really worked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my mom really doesn't call me much.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't. She'll like check in, but there's no helicopter. There was
Right.
never any helicopter parenting. I woke up, I made my bed, I went to like, I did everything I needed to do.
Yeah.
No, nobody had to tell me how to function. So kids are smart and they learn, and if you teach them that they can rely on you, they're just going to rely on you.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I don't know, raising kids seems complicated. So anyone who gets through it and has functioning adults, well done.
Did well. Yeah. Well, it seems. I mean, this is a little presumptuous, but I mean, it seems like that the whole idea. I mean, the whole idea of you not being coddled is a skill that allows you to, make a feature film as your first film. You know what I mean? Like you already have not you didn't have making film experience in that sense, but you had all the raw ingredients of like, yeah, I'm fine, I can figure it out. Like
Yeah, and I
it's
didn't
gonna be
expect
okay.
anyone. And I think that's why, partially why I could pull it off for such a low budget. I didn't
Right.
really ask people to do more than what I felt was fair based on what we were paying. Like, I found all of the locations. I basically was the location scout also.
Mhm.
Like, I just tried to, yeah, I didn't rely on anyone beyond what was uh, called for.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, oh man, it was so much work. Years. I think it's like 6 years of work total,
Yeah.
between writing and releasing the film.
Right. Well, and that's where I see like, and I don't know, maybe you can shed some light on this, but I don't know like what the scale is in terms of like how much a small independent film costs versus a major blockbuster. And obviously there's steps in between, but it seems like obviously the more people you get involved, the more money you have to pay because you got to pay them to go find locations or to find people and to do casting
Yeah.
and to write the script and to do revisions. And the more you're doing it, the less money you're paying, but the more time you're spending. So if you're comfortable sharing, like where does like Gold Star kind of fit in budget wise, and then moving up, and how does that change over time?
Yeah. For Gold Star, there was a lot of strategy involved because I kind of knew what I could get um, to raise money for
Mhm.
it. So one of our producers, Ellen, did a really fantastic job of making three different budgets.
Mhm.
What we could get for the lowest amount of money we could raise, and what
Right.
that was, the medium, and then the reach. And the reach goal I think was like $150,000. Like, and that's
Okay.
super low.
Right.
We all in, including releasing the film and paying a publicist, came in still just under 100,000, which is
Okay.
insane.
Right.
Um, but I knew that I could, going back to your original question of like committing to this and doing it and what kind of like doubts I had, I knew I wouldn't have to pay for any locations. The only
Mhm.
question mark, because I know the owner of the bar we shot in. I know the owner of the gym we shot in. I
Right.
knew we would shoot in my mom's house. We used a friend's apartment in New York. The only question mark was the hospital.
Mhm.
And if the hospital made us pay, a normal rate would have been 15,000 a day.
Mhm.
They gave it to us for free, which was insane and the biggest blessing. So the film looks a lot more expensive than it cost
Mhm.
because of these things that a family member generously donated catering,
Mhm.
owns a restaurant. So I called in every favor I possibly could, but then there are jobs that you have to pay for, like a guy who's a gaffer and a grip. They're not
Mhm.
going to do this out of the kindness of their hearts. Like that's their
Right.
day. That's their day job.
Right.
So that's their job. So, you know, using the money that I raised and looking at these three budgets and seeing like, okay, do we have to cut script supervisor if we're at this level? Do we have to cut? Do we need a gaffer and a grip and a swing? Can we just use one person? We even like did things as strategic as on days where it was just me acting, we didn't bring the makeup artist on.
Right.
I asked them to leave the makeup they used on me and write out specific instructions on like how to do it with a photo of me.
Right.
So I could like look at, I mean, a still image from the film, so I can like look and see. But like I even did my own makeup.
Yeah.
So on certain days. So it's yeah, it was really just being very strategic about how to stretch a dollar and
Mhm.
how to just, yeah, and it's so painful. I hate asking people to do things for nothing, but I think what the film is about, and having a lot of family in Connecticut willing,
Mhm.
like my grandparents, drove Robert Vaughn to and from set. So people were really, everyone, I mean, it was a team effort. Anyone who's
Mhm.
a blood relative of me did something. Everyone in the bar scene who's an extra is related to me or like
Mhm.
a very close friend.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, it's just a lot of that. So for the next film, like looking forward, because I've used every favor I'll ever have,
Mhm.
I have no favors left.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do something like shoot a short film, I'm sure I could raise enough money to do that. But for like
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
feature, no way. And especially for this scope, like to shoot in the desert and have it be at a budget level where people will even be safe,
Right.
um, you can't shoot it less for than like 800,000. Like this film has to
Mhm.
be a million at least. So that's what I think our low is around there. But also it depends on what actress we get.
Right.
But if we get someone who's super famous, then the budget will get even bigger. And I'm talking to actresses right now that I'm actually flying to LA on Monday to meet with somebody
Mhm.
who, I don't want to say her name, but if she says
No, no,
yes,
that's fine.
I'll message you and tell you, and if she signs anything, and
Yeah.
that can be a really exciting announcement. But if she says yes, my head will explode and it would be insane. But it's such a different process, like reaching out to famous people. You can't
Mhm.
reach out to more than one at the same time. And it takes them all like 6 weeks to read the script.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, it's like the scope is different. Like with Gold Star, I could work nonstop on it and just like churn that engine, like move that train forward. And
Right.
with this, like I'm waiting around because it's a much bigger scope and you can't
Mhm.
get these people to move quicker than they're going to move.
Right.
So it's great because hopefully a lot more people will watch this film, but it's also just different. I keep emailing the producers. I'm like, what can I be doing?
Yeah.